The first time Marcus checked his investment app on a Tuesday morning in October, his balance read $99,847. He put the phone down, picked it up again, refreshed. $99,902. He did not celebrate. He did not call anyone. He sat in his car in the parking lot of the school where he taught history for 6 years, and he stared at that number the way you stare at something you have been waiting for so long you are no longer sure it is real. 3 weeks later, it crossed $100,000. And then something happened that nobody had warned him about. Not his parents, not his teachers, not the personal finance books he had been reading since he was 23. Not a single person in his life had told him what was coming next. Because what happened after Marcus hit $100,000 was not what the internet told him would happen. It was not freedom. It was not a flood of passive income. It was not the feeling of arrival everyone promised. What happened was something quieter and something far more powerful. Now, consider his colleague, David. Same school, same district pay scale. Both started the same year, both earning $54,000 a year, both starting from zero at 22. David spent those 6 years doing everything you are supposed to do. Budgeting apps, cutting subscriptions, cooking at home on Sundays. He was not irresponsible. He was not unlucky. He was not bad with money. But at 32, David had $23,000 in savings, and Marcus had $112,000 growing at a rate that was starting to feel like it had a life of its own. The difference was not income, it was not talent, it was not a windfall, an inheritance, or a side business. It was one thing, one mechanism that almost nobody explains in plain language. And here's what makes it strange. The first $100,000 is the hardest money you will ever make. The next $100,000 is significantly easier. The $100,000 after that almost happens on its own, but only if you understand what actually changes at the threshold. And that is exactly what we are going to cover today. My name is Isabella, and I spend way too much time thinking about the mathematics of wealth accumulation and why the same rules seem to produce completely different outcomes for different people. If you are someone who is working toward your first significant financial milestone and keeps wondering why the path feels so slow and so steep, make sure to hit subscribe if this helps you out. Here's the assumption most people carry into their financial lives. They believe that building wealth is a linear process, that you save a little, it grows a little, and if you stay consistent, the line just keeps moving upward at roughly the same angle. More time equals more money, more effort equals more progress. They believe that $10,000 growing feels like $100,000 growing, just smaller. That assumption is the fundamental lie at the heart of why most people plateau, because wealth does not grow linearly, it grows exponentially, and the difference between those two things is not just mathematical, it's psychological, it's behavioral, and it is the reason two people doing everything right can end up in completely different places. There's a name for what changes when you cross the $100,000 threshold. Financial behaviorists call it the momentum inflection point. The concept was formalized in research by Dr. Thomas Stanley, the same researcher who spent 3 decades studying how ordinary people accumulate extraordinary wealth, documented in his landmark work on American millionaires. His data and subsequent work by researchers at the National Bureau of Economic Research kept finding the same pattern. There is a specific net worth level at which compound growth begins to visibly outpace human effort. The wealth starts doing more work than the person. The number that emerged consistently across income brackets, occupations, and demographic groups was approximately $100,000. Below that number, you're paddling. You're providing the force. You're the engine. Above that number, you step onto a moving walkway. You still walk, but the walkway is now walking too. The momentum inflection point is not about the money. It's about the transition from linear saving to compounding exponentially. It's the moment your wealth graduates from a tool you use to a system that works alongside you. And almost nobody tells you it exists or exactly how to reach it. According to a 2023 Federal Reserve Survey of Finances, the median American family has a net worth of approximately $192,000. But the median is deeply misleading here because the distribution is catastrophically uneven. The bottom 50% of American households hold just 2.5% of total household wealth. Read that again. The bottom half of the country, 2.5% of everything. Let that sink in. According to Vanguard's 2024 How America Saves report, the average 401k balance for workers in their 30s is $38,400. The average, meaning the number is dragged upward by people with significant balances. The median balance for that same age group is approximately $14,000. A 2022 study by Ramsey Solutions found that the number one obstacle preventing Americans from building wealth was not low income. It was the inability to maintain consistent investment behavior over a 10-year horizon. 78% of respondents who had failed to build meaningful savings cited life getting in the way, a phrase that translates financially to allowing short-term disruption to permanently derail long-term compounding. According to J.P. Morgan Asset Management's 2024 Guide to Retirement, missing just the 10 best trading days in the market over a 20-year period reduces your total return by more than half. 10 days out of roughly 5,000, a 0.2% window. Yet attempting to time the market, exiting during downturns, is statistically the most common and most costly investor behavior on record. Here's the one that most people can't reconcile. According to research from Fidelity Investments, their best performing accounts over decades of data consistently belong to people who had forgotten they had them. Investors who did nothing, who sat still, who never reacted. Their inaction outperformed active management at every income level. Read that again. The people who forgot about their money made more of it. Here's exactly how this works. Mechanism 1, the compounding velocity gap. At $10,000 invested at a 10% annual return, you earn $1,000 in a year. That's the market doing work on your behalf. But a $1,000 gain when you're earning $54,000 a year represents something you could replicate yourself in 3 weeks of work. The market's contribution feels like a rounding error. So psychologically, you don't feel momentum. You feel like you're shoveling alone. Think of it like a wheel. In the early stages, you're spinning the wheel entirely by hand. Every rotation requires full effort. You get tired, you slow down, the wheel slows. But once the wheel reaches sufficient speed, once it has enough rotational momentum, it begins to spin itself. Your job is no longer to generate motion. Your job is to keep your hand on it. At $10,000, the market contributes $1,000 annually. That doesn't cover 1 month of expenses for most people. At $100,000, the market contributes $10,000 annually. For many households, that's 2 months of income, generated while you sleep, while you teach history, while you sit in a parking lot looking at your phone. But here's where it gets significantly darker. Mechanism 2, the invisible drag multiplier. Every financial mistake you make below $100,000 costs you not what you lose today. It costs you the compounded version of what that money would have become. That $4,000 car repair you put on a credit card at 22% APR, that's not $4,000. Over 30 years at an average market return of 10%, that $4,000 is $69,800 you will never have. For every dollar you borrow at high interest in your 20s and 30s, you're not just paying the interest, you're burning the future value equivalent. You're paying with money you don't yet have, destroying money you will never see. Think of every debt as a negative investment, an anti-compound working against every dollar you're trying to grow. But that's not the worst part. Mechanism 3, the lifestyle synchronization trap. As income rises, lifestyle rises to meet it almost automatically. This is not weakness, it's neurological. The brain recalibrates its sense of normal every time circumstances improve. A $200 dinner that would have felt obscene at 24 feels reasonable at 31. A $500 weekend trip that felt impossible at 25 feels fine at 32. Your expense baseline tracks your income with the precision of a heat-seeking system. But compound growth does not track your lifestyle. It tracks only your invested balance. The person who earns $80,000 and invests $20,000 builds wealth at the same rate as the person who earns $120,000 and also invests $20,000. Income above the investment threshold is financially invisible. It creates comfort. It does not create compounding. But here is where it gets really interesting. Mechanism 4, the threshold effect. Below $100,000, volatility feels personal. When the market drops 15%, your $30,000 portfolio loses $4,500, roughly a month of take-home pay. That is not abstract. That lands. That causes people to sell, to pause contributions, to decide that maybe now is not the right time. Above $100,000, the mathematics of recovery change completely. A 20% recovery on $100,000 is $20,000. The portfolio rebuilds itself faster than your salary contributions ever could. You begin to understand, viscerally, that downturns are not threats, they are sales. The transition from fearing market drops to welcoming them is one of the most significant wealth-building mindset shifts that exists, and it almost always happens organically at this threshold, not before it. Let us follow Adeze. Adeze is a 30-year-old marketing manager at a mid-sized logistics company in Atlanta, Georgia. Her salary is $72,000 a year. She takes home approximately $4,600 a month after taxes and benefits. She has $31,000 in her 401k and $6,400 in a high-yield savings account. By any reasonable measure, she is doing better than most. At 28, she got a promotion and a $9,000 raise. Her HR manager walked her through her options. She could increase her 401k contribution, or she could take the full raise in her paycheck. Her rent was going up. She had been wanting to move to a nicer part of the city. The apartment she was looking at was $320 more per month. She told herself it was a reasonable decision. She had worked hard for this promotion. She deserved to see the benefit of it now, not in 30 years. She took the apartment. Here's what that decision actually cost her. $320 per month invested from age 28 to age 65 at a 9% average annual return becomes $890,000. She did not spend $320 a month on that apartment. She paid $890,000 for it in future dollars over a lifetime. And nothing in her HR meeting, her lease agreement, or her pay stub showed her that number. By 35, Adeze had $58,000 in retirement savings, better than most, still below the momentum inflection point, still paddling, still feeling like the progress was slow because below $100,000, the progress is slow. The maths do not start working for you until you clear that threshold. She had no idea the walkway existed. Nobody had shown her the map. Here's something important to understand. Adeze is not bad with money. She has not failed. She has not been reckless. She made the decision any reasonable person would make when handed a raise and a choice between a nicer life now and an invisible benefit 3 decades from now. The system that produced that choice, the financial industry, the credit infrastructure, the consumer economy that regenerates itself on lifestyle inflation, made a great deal of money off that decision. The property management company got a better tenant, the credit card company processed the incidental charges, the car dealership upsold her a lease renewal. This is not a personal finance failure. This is a designed extraction mechanism. The consumer economy is architecturally dependent on lifestyle inflation. Apple does not release a phone every year because the old one broke. The fast fashion industry does not drop new collections every season because clothing wears out. The restaurant industry does not market treating yourself because nutrition requires variety. These systems exist to capture the incremental dollars that, if redirected, would cross your momentum inflection point. You are not bad with money. You were handed a world designed to spend your compounding engine before you even knew you had one. You were never given the map everyone else pretended they had always known. Rule 1. Name your number and build toward it with surgical precision. The momentum inflection point is not a vague aspiration, it is a specific number. $100,000 is your first target, not a retirement balance, not a comfortable nest egg, just the threshold at which compounding begins to become visible and self-reinforcing. Every financial decision you make in your 20s and 30s should be evaluated through one lens. Does this move me toward or away from $100,000? A $280 a month gym membership you use 2 weeks a month delays that milestone by 4 months. A $500 a month car payment over 6 years costs you $36,000 in contributions and potentially $400,000 in compounded growth. The cost of any lifestyle choice is not its price tag. Its cost is the milestone delay it causes and the compounding it prevents. Rule 2. Eliminate high-interest debt before investing, but with a critical exception. This is the most misunderstood rule in personal finance. Every financial advisor will tell you to pay off high-interest debt first. They are right. A 22% APR credit card balance is a guaranteed negative 22% return on every dollar sitting in your savings account. You cannot out-invest credit card debt. You will lose every time. The exception is employer-matched retirement contributions. If your employer matches 4% of your salary and you are not contributing to capture that match, you are turning down a guaranteed 100% return on that money. No investment on the planet offers a guaranteed 100% return the day you invest. Capture the match first, then eliminate high-interest debt, then invest everything else. Rule 3. Automate the investment before you budget the rest. The human brain is extraordinarily good at spending money that exists in a current account. It is also extraordinarily good at rationalizing why this month is an exception. The only way to defeat this mechanism is structural, not motivational. Set your investment contribution to auto-transfer on the same day as your paycheck deposit, before you see the balance, before the brain begins constructing reasons why this month requires a little flexibility. People who automate investments save 3 times more over a decade than people who invest what is left over. There is rarely anything left over. The brain finds it. Automate the decision out of reach. Rule 4. Never interrupt compounding for a recoverable emergency. The most expensive financial mistake people make is not the car loan or the credit card. It's raiding the investment account when a crisis hits. The $15,000 pulled from a retirement account at 32 to cover a job loss is not $15,000. At a 9% return over 30 years, it's $198,000. That early withdrawal penalty plus income tax means you're also paying approximately 30 to 40% of it immediately. You actually receive $9,000 to $10,500. You lost $198,000 in future value and paid the government $5,000 to $6,000 for the privilege. The emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a high-yield savings account, completely separate from investment accounts, is not optional. It is the firewall that prevents a short-term crisis from becoming a permanent wealth impairment. Rule 5. Increase your contribution rate every time your income increases. Lifestyle inflation is automatic. Investment rate increases must be deliberate or they will not happen. Every raise, every promotion, every bonus, the default is to absorb it into your lifestyle. The rule is this: immediately redirect a minimum of 50% of any income increase into investments before the lifestyle adjustment has time to occur. If you get a $5,000 raise, $2,500 of the after-tax portion goes directly to your investment account on day one. You never adjust to spending it, you adjust to saving it. This single behavior applied consistently across a career is responsible for more 7-figure net worths than any market performance or investment strategy in existence. Rule 6. Index before you optimize. The finance industry makes its money, all of its money, on complexity. Managed funds, advisory fees, trading commissions, tactical allocations. The data, accumulated over 70 years of market research, is unambiguous. The average actively managed fund underperforms a simple index fund over any 10-year period after fees. The average investor who attempts to pick individual stocks underperforms the index. The average person who tries to time the market destroys wealth. A simple 3-fund portfolio, a total U.S. market index fund, an international index fund, and a bond fund held for decades with automatic contributions will outperform the vast majority of sophisticated investment strategies attempted by ordinary investors. Do not optimize before you have cleared the momentum inflection point. There is nothing to optimize yet. The only variable that matters at this stage is the size and consistency of your contributions. Rule 7. Treat your net worth statement as the only scorecard that matters. Monthly income is not a wealth metric. Monthly spending is not a wealth metric. Your car, your apartment, your wardrobe, none of these are wealth metrics. Net worth, total assets minus total liabilities, is the only number that determines where you stand on the compounding curve. Calculate it every 3 months. Write it down. Track its trajectory. People who track their net worth quarterly accumulate significantly more wealth than people who track income and spending alone, because it forces the question, is my compounding engine growing? Not, did I have a good month? The scoreboard you watch determines the game you play. Picture yourself in the morning, 27 years from now. You are sitting in a kitchen with good light. It is a weekday. You know this because your phone told you, not because you are getting ready for anything in particular. There is no alarm going off. There is no commute beginning. The coffee is the good kind, the kind you used to buy as a treat on Friday afternoons when you were 32 and telling yourself you deserved a small luxury. Now it is Tuesday and you did not think about the price. Your portfolio generates between $3,000 and $5,000 a month in dividend income alone. Your mortgage is paid. Your children are educated. The decision you made to automate $800 a month into an index fund at 31, the decision that felt significant at the time, felt like a sacrifice, has produced something that now produces for you. You feel, specifically, unhurried. Now picture a different morning, same year. You are sitting in a car in a driveway, working through a calculation on your phone that you have run before. You are 61. You were planning to retire at 63, but the numbers keep landing wrong. Social Security alone will not cover the fixed expenses. The investment account, the one you started at 36 after the years of high-interest debt finally cleared, has $180,000 in it. At 4% withdrawal, that's $7,200 a year. The anxiety is not dramatic, it's low-level and permanent, like a background noise you have stopped hearing but never stopped feeling. The lifestyle was good, the years were full, the momentum inflection point was never crossed. Which version you become depends almost entirely on what you decide to do starting right now, not next year, not after the next raise, now. We started this with Marcus, sitting in a parking lot on a Tuesday morning in October, watching a number he had spent 6 years building cross a threshold nobody had ever explained to him. After $100,000, Marcus did not suddenly become wealthy. He became something more important. He became someone whose wealth was now a participant in his life, not just a passenger. The wheel began spinning itself. David is still paddling, still doing the right things, still earning the same salary. The gap between them is not discipline, not intelligence, not luck. The gap is the momentum inflection point, and whether you understand it exists before or after you need it to. The question is not whether you can afford to invest aggressively right now. The question is whether you want to be the version of yourself sitting in that kitchen on a Tuesday morning with nowhere to be, or whether you're comfortable being the version who is still doing the maths, still running the numbers, still sitting in a car in a driveway, wondering where the time went.